שבוע טוב, מריו.
If you don't turn on the radio when you're hearing better or not?
No? Well, yeah, if you turn off music, yeah. You know, good.
This is terrible.
Wrong. I was going to tell you again. And I'm not going to listen to that. I don't like that.
Hey, Mario.
שבוע טוב, everybody.
Shavua Tov. How you feeling, Abe?
Baruch Hashem. Good.
Good.
You okay? Yep. You hear something wrong with your end?
Yeah, Mario, something wrong on your side.
You want me to turn off the
Talk, everybody.
Shavua Tov.
recorder?
You don't need all of it. All you need is maps and your music.
Why was there AAA?
Mario, mute.
It's an application on his phone.
Mario,
Can't use it while driving.
Mario, you need to mute.
We're on
Thank you.
NEM 40. Torah Rabbana. Sadin batzitzis. You have a linen garment. It requires tzitzis. Beishamai poitrin. Beishamai says, now, see, tzitzis has to have woolen tchelas. So, by putting tzitzis on, you're going to create shatnez. So, Beishamai poitrin. Beishamai says that they don't learn smuchin. Smuchin means connection between psukim. So it says lo tilbash shatnez gdilim tasalacha. So Beis Hillel, who learns smuchin, learn that the reason that those two psukim are next to each other is to tell you that for mitzvah tzitzis it overrides the law of shatnez. Beis Shammai don't learn smuchin. So they say that a linen garment is potter mit tzitzis. Ubeis Hillel mechayven. V'alocha kedivrei Beis Hillel. Or Rabbi Eliezer ben Rab Tzadok. V'alakol hamatil ches b'Yerushalayim eino ela min hamatmin. Rabbi Eliezer quoted that the Chachamim in Yerushalayim would wonder at people who put tzitzis on a linen garment, because they thought he's wearing shatnez. Omer Rebbe im Kain lama asrua. Why did these Zechenim Yerushalayim have a problem with it if Beis Hillel matters it? Lefi shein bekiin. People are not bulky enough to understand that the only reason that shatnez is allowed here is tzitzis. And they won't know, and they'll wear shatnez in other cases as well. Now, there are other ways to solve this problem. Take 10 people, let them wear tzitzis on a linen garment, and let them announce that the only reason we're wearing it is because shatnez is permitted in the form of tzitzis, and everybody will know the din. Kol shekain dematmuiloin. They will be even more wondrous that these 10 rabbonim are wearing shatnez. So, the literature b'pirka. So let them do a public announcement at the drasha to tell people that shadnis is permitted in case of tzitzis. Gzer mishum kala ilan. So the answer that we gave that the people don't know, that's not the right answer. The right answer is where kala ilan was a blue dye that was made out of plants. The real tchelis is made out of the snail, the chilozo. Since it was very expensive, there were counterfeiters who made tzitzis using this kala ilan. Now, if they would wear this kala ilan instead of real tchelis, they're not wearing tzitzis. They're violating shatnez. So in a linen garment, they said don't wear tzitzis because otherwise we're worried about this kala ilan problem. However, lo yela lovon. We've also learned that you don't need the woolen tchelis thread, right? Normally there's three regular white threads and then one woolen thread. But we've learned that you could use 4 threads of lavon and it would also be good. So even the thread that is dyed with this kala ilan shouldn't be any worse than a regular lavon one. And therefore you have the mitzvah tzitzis, which overrides the shatnez. So kiven defsher b'minon, you can do all 4 threads could be linen. And that avoids the whole thing. So then then we don't use a woolen thread because we have an ability to makayim the mitzvah with a permitted way. Whenever you have a conflict between an aseh and a lo taseh, like here, you have a mitzvah aseh of tzitzis, you have a lo taseh of shatnez. If you can be makayim the mitzvah aseh and not violate shatnez, that's the better way to do it. So in this case, you should use 4 threads of linen. Now, im lav. Now, if you don't have it, then you can use this principle of the aseh and doichelois aseh. So to avoid this, they said that the tchelis will never be worn by big day, by regular linen garments. Now, if the problem is kala ilan, the livdiku, there is a chemical test. They knew even in the time of the Gemara how to differentiate between kala ilan and real tchelis. So what, instead of the chachamim getting rid of the whole mitzvah of tzitzis by linen garments, let them just check. Gzeira mishum te'ima. So if you test it and you find that it's okay, but you're not allowed to use a woolen thread that was tested in real tzitzis. So then you'd have a problem with shatnez because you're not doing the mitzvah. So they had to aser completely. No tcheles, no tzitzis by linen garments. V'lichte ve'adiski. Let them write that if a thread that is tested cannot be used for tzitzis, people will know, and then they won't use these tested threads on tzitzis, and that can avoid the problem. So adiski leikum v'lismach, can we rely if we send out documents? Will that help? Amarava, yeah. Has the chametz b'Pesach for Yom Kippurim, right? Eating chametz on Pesach and eating on Yom Kippur, you get chiyuv kores, the kores, and yet some chilin adiski. So every year, when the chachamim would declare a new year, a leap year, So they would add a month. And people knew about it because they sent documents. And if you didn't rely on the documents, you'd end up eating chametz on Pesach or eating on Yom Kippur. So here, hachad asay ba'alma, this is just an asay. Lo kol shekin that we should rely on documents. So now, all the reasons that we've given so far for prohibiting wearing tzitzis on a linen document has fallen away. El Rava, Ha Milsa Amri, this halacha was stated Vitma Barava Mishum Drav Zera Kavasi, Shema Yikra Sadina B'toch Sholosh Visperenu. They were concerned that this linen garment would tear within 3 etzbos of the corner. That's where you're supposed to tie the tzitzis on the corner. And the problem is somebody's going to come and repair it by sewing the torn corner. To save himself money, he'll leave one of the threads hanging to serve as one of the tzitzis. But the problem is you have an issue of tasem and of lobna asui. You need a completed garment and then you hang the tzitzis. Here, the garment would already have a thread hanging. Like you can't pre-make tzitzis. So because of this potential, Chachamim say you don't have to put tzitzis on a linen garment. Shor Rav Zera l'Sadine. Rav Zera had a linen garment. He took the tzitzis off. He agreed. Rav Zera Amar Gzeira Mishum Ksus Laila. Another Gzeira. By tzitzis it says Re'isa Moso. You have to see it. So tzitzis is not a garment that you wear at night. A nightshirt is potter from tzitzis. You can't see it at night. So we're concerned someone's going to wear a linen pajama. Therefore, and there's no mitzvah tzitzis, yet he's going to hang tchelis there. And he's going to be wearing shadis lo b'malka mitzvah. So that's another gzeira, a reason for why they banned tzitzis on a linen garment. Amarava. Hamil Samrivit Marava. This was said, some say in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei Rav Zer Kavasi. He shall beged uknafer shel or. Let's say you have a garment that's 90%, cotton, but the corners were leather. Chayeves. That garment would require tzitzis. He shall or knafer shel beged. Let's say you have a leather jacket, but the corners were made out of cotton, p'tura. Ma'itama ikar beged be'inon. We look at the main beged. The ikar beged determines whether it required tzitzis. Leather is potter from tzitzis. So if it's not ikar, then it would not require tzitzis. Rav Achai azul basar knaf. Rav Achai would determine the requirement of tzitzis based on the material that's in the corner. Even if the garment was mainly leather, if the corner was cotton or wool, it would require tzitzis. We paskin that we go after the main body of the garment. Amar Rav Rav Chaim Rav Huna. Hitil lebalas shalosh. Let's say you're making a garment, and at this time it's only got 3 corners, and you attach tzitzis to the 3 corners, and then you finish making the garment, and now it has 4 corners. And you put tzitzis there, psula. Because tasev v'lo os, the same thing we had before. You can't have pre-made tzitzis. You have to have a finished beged that needs tzitzis, and then you put the tzitzis on. However, meisvei, chasim arishonim, the early chasidim, kivin she'argu bo sholosh, once they got within 3 etzbos of a corner, hayu matilan latchelis, they would add the tzitzis to it. Now, it's not mechuyev tzitzis yet. And so this seems to go against this concept that you can't put can't pre-place the tzitzis. That means they finished the 4 corners. And now, as they were getting to within 3 finger breadths of the end, then they would attach tzitzis that. They wouldn't wait. They were so zorious to do the mitzvah. That's okay, because here you have 4 garments, 4 corners that are finished. Now, does this rule actually apply? Let's say you have a garment that has tzitzis on it, and now you attach new tzitzis to the garment, and then if you remove the original tzitzis that were there, it's kosher to use. Now, when you attach the new tzitzis, there was no chiyuv because the other ones were still there. So why isn't that a problem? If tasav lo menasui, amarava, harshta b'val tosif koi. Now, when you add extra tzitzis, we have an issue of bal toisif. It says lo sosifa la v'lo sigrami menu. So if you put more tzitzis on a garment, you're violating that. If you're violating it, you can't wear the beged. So you can't wear the beged. It needs more tzitzis. So masa lo havi. So the adding the tzitzis really didn't make tzitzis. When you remove the original ones, there's no lav anymore. So it's not a violation of tasev lo mina asu. Maski flor of papa. How do you know that when he added those tzitzis to the original garment that has tzitzis, that his kavana was to add to the mitzvah? Maybe his act of putting on the new tzitzis was to mavatal the old tzitzis. Ubal toisif lekam, and there's no bal toisif, and ma'isa ikka, you are making new tzitzis. When you remove the original tzitzis, now it's fit, based on the new tzitzis. Originally, they weren't required, but obviously they are violated. So this goes against what we said, that if you put tzitzis on a 3-cornered garment, and then later on you add the 4th, it's not good, it's actually good. From this case. Amrav Zem Rav Mas Amar Shmuel. Tcheles ein bo mishum kloim. You don't violate shatnez. Vafilu betal's patura. Even in a beged that is potter from tzitzis, there's no shatnez. Now we don't understand yet what we mean by a talus patura. My talus patura. Ilem delas b'shiura. You're talking about a beged that is not an official beg because it lacks the shiurim. V'hatanya, talis she'akotin miskaso b'rosha v'rubo. If a cotton can cover himself, v'agodol yotzo b'derech haroi chayeves b'tzitzis. So that begins the analysis of what garment needs tzitzis, and we'll continue tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll learn at 7:00.
Yeah, this garment that he's talking about looks like it's a cloak or something. It's not exactly a talus.
No, like any beged. When we say beged, we mean anything, any shirt, anything. But
Anything.
remember, our shirts don't really have 4. They're like, think about a toga. They like had a hole.
Right.
in the
Yeah.
top, and they put it on,
That was for.
and it had 2 things in front and 2 things in the back, like a
Yeah.
toga. That was
Poncho.
their garment.
Okay.